back to Wake Up and Live with the Arts. Again, James McGilvray here, along with
Gary Webster.
Yes, and he didn't forget. I didn't forget either. So
it slips my mind occasionally.
Well, we're going to have so much fun with this segment. Sure hope you have enjoyed the previous segments. This particular segment, we're going to be talking with two very special people, some people with some amazing history behind them. We'll begin with Barbara Sturbank, excuse me. And it was amazing how you changed your name like that. Barbara Sturbank and also Dan Horswell. And these two have wonderful musical backgrounds that I think you're going to be a bit astounded by. And they're doing some wonderful work with kids locally. Barbara, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about your background, and boy, there's not a little bit there. You have a very extensive background. How did you get started in the wonderful world of music?
When I was in first grade, the school teacher thought that I couldn't sing and said I was a monotone, and sat me in the last row of the last seat in the last row of the class.
Oh my.
And I came home devastated. And my mother said, "You can play the piano." So they started me in piano at second grade, and we never looked back. So I went from playing the piano to playing the organ in church, and majored in music education. And I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin originally.
Okay.
And then married and moved to Cleveland, where I started the Cellrec Singers, a community adult organization. I felt at that time that there didn't seem to be a place for the adult singer. It was either the Cleveland Orchestra Chorus or the church choir, but there didn't seem to be a place for someone who wanted to sing Broadway songs, for instance. So I started this community chorus. And then after I raised my family, I went back to school and finished my music ed degree, and then started teaching at the high school level.
I want piano lessons. How soon can I start?
We'll sign you up afterward.
I don't know that I have any musical ability whatsoever, but I have always enjoyed piano music. I especially like the ragtime honky-tonk piano music. That has always been among my favorites, but I've always enjoyed piano music. If I could ever learn to play, well, in fact, the two instruments that I would love to learn to play if I had the ability are the two that are represented here tonight, the piano and the guitar. I wish I could play either or both of those.
Well, what about, in fact, adults, Gary and I, people our still relatively young age,
adults are fun to
something
teach
like
because they learn fast.
Really?
You can move a lot faster with adults. They have hand-eye coordination, and they know how to follow directions. And most of the time.
You obviously don't know James and I very well.
Yes, and Sue Johnson has talked with us about that often. But
so adults go very quickly, and they usually when they study, they want to be studying, as opposed to the child who's taking lessons because mom and daddy want them to.
Well, then hopefully we can let people know how to contact you. Are you open to accepting new students at this time?
Absolutely. Shall we do it now or afterward?
Actually, let's go ahead and
there's no time like the present.
Exactly.
Okay. You can reach me at 216-382-5328. And I also do voice lessons. So if you're interested in Gary, how about you? You want to sing?
I would like to do that too. Why not? I want to be a quintuple, quadruple threat. You name it and I can do it.
If you're going to play guitar, you should sing and play. I mean, Dan's the master of singing and playing guitar at the same time.
We were going to find that out shortly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, you met Dan within the past several years. Dan, tell us a little bit about how you and Barbara have gotten together and are now working in conjunction with each other in this musical arena, especially with the choir.
Well, it first started when she was the choral director at Brush High School, and she had a show choir and was looking for a band director. Her drummer had a father, and he and I were very good friends. And he said, "Dan, why don't you go and see Mrs. Sturbank? She's looking for a band director, and you were a band director wannabe." So I met her,
yes.
And she hired me. and I totally enjoyed it at that time. Throughout the 2 or 3 years we worked together, we got to know each other, but then our marriages we each in our previous marriages kind of went south. We reconnected back up again, and now we're playing music together with the Singing Angels.
And tell us a little bit about the Singing Angels.
Well, the Singing Angels were started in 1964 by William Bain because he wanted an opportunity for all children in the area to get together and to sing. And it just celebrated their 47th anniversary.
Nice.
We are still going. 170 children in the performing chorus, ages 8 to 18. If you can imagine being a teacher, ages 8 to 18 in one room on a Saturday afternoon.
Challenging.
Very. We have a lot of fun singing, and it's a chance for children of all ages and backgrounds to come together to make music.
And you have a website for the Singing Angels as well. Could
It's
you give that?
singingangels.org.
Okay.
And you can find out what we're up to and where we're going to be performing next on this website, as well as how to audition.
And where have they been? I understand that they've been on the road recently.
Oh, they just came back from a 7-nation cruise. They flew to London and got on a cruise ship and then visited 7 of the Scandinavian countries, ending up in Russia,
Nice.
giving performances all along the way.
Well, I'll tell you what, the gentleman to Barbara's right, Dan, has quite the traveling background himself, and we've kind of been saving this a little bit. I'm going to just refer to my notes because it gets quite extensive. You actually go back to such groups. You've appeared with the Mamas and the Papas, Paul Revere and the Raiders, Herman's Hermits. You were a part of a group called the Seven Sons, who are now, as of 2002, were inducted into the Iowa State Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Is that correct?
You found it all right, yes.
And that doesn't even begin to touch on all of it. And by the way, I saw Peter Noon with Herman's Hermits just a year or so ago during the Hall of Fame inductions, and he's still rocking and just has energy to spare for everyone. And
Absolutely.
You even
You're
had,
never too old for that.
That's
Never.
apparently so,
Right.
and you even had an appearance with Del Shannon.
Yes.
What was it like when you were on the road and performing with these musicians?
It was probably the most awesome experience that anyone could ever have. We performed in front of audiences ranging from 1,000 people to 12,000 people, and flash cubes everywhere. I was fortunate I got to sing at the Iowa State Fair with Bobby V, harmonized with him, Del Shannon, actually Peter Noonan and Eric Burden and the Animals and the Seven Sons were all at the basement of the Vets Auditorium in Des Moines, Iowa, and we were all having a drink together before we went out and performed. Now, you could do that back in the 60s. You
Do
know.
rock
Very
stars
nice.
do that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah.
I am shocked.
Horrified.
Yes.
But I got through the 60s, and after the 60s, then I went into country music, and I played music with my mom and dad, the old standards, 40s, 50s stuff. So I have a varied background of music. I also play the electric bass in our church, and I love playing electric bass for the performing chorus for the Singing Angels. And I have some wonderful gigs and some phenomenal memories.
And
And I lived through them, which is the amazing thing.
Well, and we're going to have the pleasure of hearing you perform tonight. One last question before we go on to that. You are also currently performing here in town with Dennis Chandler and the
Stratophonics, absolutely. As a matter of fact, our next gig will be at the Woolly Bear Festival, and we do nothing newer than 1962.
Excellent.
So if you want to hear some good old music, you're going to hear 50s, and that's it.
Well, let's not hesitate any longer. I can't wait. I tell you, Barbara Sturbank, it has been such a pleasure
Thank you very
meeting
much.
you.
Pleasure to talk
Best
with you.
wishes with
Thank
you
you.
and the kids in the choir. Dan, nice meeting you,
Nice
and
meeting you.
we're going to enjoy hearing you play. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the only thing that needs to be said is let's enjoy Dan Horswell.